Good evening, everyone. My name is Joseph. I'd like to thank everyone for joining Mal and I today. We are happy to be here today to discuss travel insurance with you. The goal of our presentation is that you have a better understanding of travel insurance and know what to look for when purchasing it. Travel insurance is a financial protection that allows you to travel with peace of mind in case of any accidents or health situations. It can cover you for medical expenses, repatriation, trip cancellation, interruption, and even compensation for a lost bag. Okay. So there are many ways in which we obtain travel insurance. We have three bullet points right here. Health insurance, providers like Blue Cross, and there's over 20 travel insurance providers in Canada right now. We have group plans. There are travel insurance benefits that employees have access to through their companies. We have credit cards. Currently, there are over hundreds of different types of credit cards being offered in Canada, all available through the various different financial institutions. When people ask me about credit cards, I always tell them understand what your credit cards really cover you for. Some credit cards may cover you for trip cancellation, others may cover you for interruption, some may just cover you for baggage. Others cover you for emergency medical care, 7 days coverage, 15 days coverage. All vary depending on the various credit cards. When purchasing a travel insurance policy from providers like Blue Cross, our benefits are quite robust and most conditions can be covered if pre existing conditions are stable for a set required amount of time. So, questions to ask when looking at travel insurance. Can I get travel insurance coverage? Eligibility. Eligibility is used by every travel insurance company at a certain age to qualify for travel insurance. There's questions that are asked. What does travel insurance cover? Coverage. Coverage ensure that you know and understand what you're covered for. Medical versus non-medical. Make sure the insurance product always satisfies your needs. Why could my claim be refused? Exclusions. So exclusions are things or events that an insurance company will not cover. Example, acts of war and terrorism. We cover pregnancy up to 32 weeks, but not beyond that. Answers may vary based on your age, the length of your trip, your medical conditions, and your destination. Eligibility. So eligibility is one of the first points I hit on. All travel insurance companies have eligibility criteria. Failure to meet these criteria makes you ineligible to get coverage. Eligibility criteria may vary depending on your age. At Blue Cross, our magic number is 55. So a person age 55 and over must not have received medical advice not to travel from a physician, suffer from a medical condition in its terminal stage, suffer from kidney failure treated with dialysis, have been diagnosed with or treated for metastatic cancer in the past 5 years, have been prescribed or treated with home oxygen in the past 12 months. So these are what I refer to as the knockout questions. Every insurance company has them. Some other insurance companies may ask you, are you taking more than 7 prescription medications? Have you had a heart condition in the last 12 months? But everybody has eligibility questions. Okay, coverage. So we've listed some of the coverages. There's many we've left out, but for the sake of time, we've provided our list. We have emergency medical coverage, which include up to $5 million for hospitalization, medical and paramedical expenses, including physician and nurse care, drugs and medication, incidental expenses, emergency dental treatments, transportation expenses, including repatriation to the province of residence, which is we air ambulance you back. We first stabilize your condition, then we'll air ambulance you back to your province of origin. We also have other benefits, trip cancellation, interruption. We have baggage, accidental death and dismemberment. There's other benefits that we have, coverages that we have, like annual plans were a big hit. People that travel multiple times in a year, people that travel that have border crossings, they go across every week, so they buy an annual plan. We have visitors to Canada. There's many different products and benefits that we cover that are not being discussed tonight. Now, coverages. So you've seen the coverages that we have. Earlier, you heard me say that we cover up to $5 million, right? Many people do not understand the importance of purchasing travel insurance and traveling abroad. Many people believe that their credit cards or their provincial coverage is adequate when traveling abroad, when in fact, the provinces cover very little. I reside in Ontario, and I can tell you that provincial coverage is up to $400 per day, which isn't much compared to a hospital bed in Mexico or Florida, which can run you up to 10,000 US a night. And we've had claims like this, people that have been hospitalized for 30, 60 days, motor accidents, heart conditions, many different situations. After 2 months stay, the claim is up to $1 million. So it's critical to always make sure that you have the adequate travel insurance. We cover repatriation. Repatriation air ambulance from Florida to Ontario was 40,000 US just to fly you back. If I were to fly you back from Portugal to Ontario, it's 100,000. So these are real costs. These are real situations that happen. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't happen to everybody, but that's why we buy travel insurance. My advice to everyone would be make sure you always have the adequate coverage so it does not financially impact you and your family. That's it.
All right, now let's talk about exclusions and stability. So what you should keep in mind, what you should know is that all travel insurance policies have exclusions, and those exclusions may apply to medical conditions and other circumstances. Like Joseph mentioned, acts of war or pregnancy up to at a certain stage can be considered an exclusion. But also, medical conditions are usually subject to a minimum stability period to be covered. And this is what we'll focus on tonight. So here we have a list of stability requirements with Blue Cross. What it means is that if one or more of the following events happen during the required stability period, the condition is considered unstable and therefore is excluded from coverage. Here are a few examples. If you've had a new medical diagnosis, if you've been hospitalized, if you've had a change of dosage to a medication, those are all events that would make a condition unstable. I just want to take a minute to talk about chemo and PARP inhibitors. So when we talk about chemo and radiation therapy in travel insurance, it's never considered stable while you are undergoing the treatment. If you are done with your treatment and you are, if you've been done for longer than the stability period requires, your medical condition could be covered. Also, PARP inhibitors, if you take them, the condition can be considered stable if all other criteria are met. So when we talk about PARP inhibitors, it's mostly about a change of dosage. That's the main criteria we have to be mindful of with that medication. Here are the stability requirements that we have at Blue Cross. So what duration, how long must your condition be stable for it to be covered under a Blue Cross plan, a travel insurance plan? So under emergency medical care, your condition must be stable for 3 months before departure if you're 54 and under. If you're 55 and or older, your medical conditions must be stable for 6 months before departure to be covered. When it comes to trip cancellation or interruption, we require a 3-month stability period from the purchase date of the insurance, and that is for everyone. Whatever your age, we require 3 months. And now, let's have a look at 2 examples, one for emergency medical care and one for trip cancellation or interruption to make sure it all becomes a little more clear. So here, for emergency medical care, we have a 55-year-old client who meets all the eligibility criteria. So we'll require a 6-month stability period for a condition to be covered. For the sake of our example, their departure date is October 15. The 6-month stability threshold brings us to April 15. So that means that any event listed in the stability criteria happening between April 15 and October 15 will render the condition unstable and therefore will not be covered. Here's another example, but for trip cancellation or interruption. So this time we have a 40-year-old client who meets all the eligibility criteria, and we require the 3-month stability period from the date of purchase of the travel insurance. For the sake of our example, the client purchases their travel insurance on August 2nd. Their departure date has no impact on the stability that will be required. So that means that this client could be leaving next week, or they could go to Disney World a few months from now, or they could book a cruise a year from now, and it would still be the same stability requirements. In this case, the 3-month stability threshold is May 2nd, which means that between May 2nd and August 2nd, any event listed in the stability criteria that happens will render the condition unstable and therefore will be excluded from coverage. However, any event that qualifies as a valid reason to cancel will be covered if it happens between August 2nd and the departure date. And that kind of event includes medical conditions that are considered stable. Now, very quickly about finding the right plan. How can you purchase your travel insurance? There are different distribution channels. You can go directly to the insurers through their website or their call center. You can also enlist the help of an insurance broker in your province of residence, or you can go to your travel agency. And finally, please don't forget to always follow your attending physician's recommendations in regards to travel. You should also always answer truthfully when filling out an insurance application. This could be the difference between a denied or accepted claim. And if you are unsure of an answer, refer to a medical professional. They will help you answer the insurance form. And always take time to read your insurance policy and contact your broker or your insurer if you have any questions. Those people are there to answer your questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you both for that very informative presentation. We're a little bit behind, but I'm going to ask a couple of questions. And if we don't get to all of them, then we will follow up with those that have asked the questions. So one question that we had is, if you are not stable in your cancer, does that deem you totally ineligible for coverage at all, or just for the pre-existing condition? I.e., if I get in a car accident when I'm on holidays, am I still covered for the car accident, just not if I need to go in hospital due to my cancer?
Mel, can I take that, or?
As you wish.
Okay, thanks. So absolutely, you can get coverage. I mean, you're right. You will, if you're stability, you don't meet the stability requirements, you may not have the coverage for the cancer, but you would have coverage if you got into a car accident, if you had kidney stones, anything, any numerous medical conditions could arise that are not related to cancer, and you would have that coverage.
Great information to know. And so important and so informative just to know to ask the right questions to make sure you're confident and comfortable when you do go, because you want to be able to enjoy your holiday. Another question, can you confirm that this stability coverage is only for international travel, correct? Not for travel between provinces?
No. So stability requirements when you purchase travel insurance to travel within the country, those stability requirements will still apply. However, the provincial coverage when you stay within Canadian border is much more generous than it is if you go abroad. So there's a lower risk that we know of, but provincial coverage will never cover for, let's say, ambulance, or they won't cover for air ambulance either. So there are some services that won't be covered by provincial plans.
Again, just to check before you go.
Right. And our Canadian plans are a lot cheaper than the international travel. So
Mhm.
the costs are like half. Like it's really cost effective to buy a plan when traveling across Canada.
Okay. I'm going to ask one final question, and then I will follow up with the other questions after for those of you that have asked. So this person writes, I have been told that I will never be cancer free. Does this mean that I'll never be able to get travel medical insurance?
No, not necessarily.
Right.
It really depends on each insurer, but at Blue Cross, we don't look at whether you're cancer free or not. We look at the type, what kind of treatments you've had and whether those treatments have changed over time. But if you're not cancer free, but you meet all the stability requirements in the past 6 months, depending on your age, or 3 months if you're younger, you could still be covered for cancer. Or if it wasn't a metastatic cancer in the past 5 years, you could still get coverage, also depending on your age.
Okay. Excellent information. And I think the important thing to take out of here is do a lot of research before you go. I know that I have women that join me on the TLTs, and they travel all over and they do a ton of research into their plans. And they make sure they ask all of the right questions. So definitely it is possible with the research. So I want to thank you both for being with us tonight and taking time to share this valuable information with us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.